My FPL double game week 32 team selection. In today's video, we're going to have a look at my team going into the double, of course, followed by another double in game week 33. I've also got my assistant manager active as I played it in game week 31. We'll be talking about who that manager is going to be and whether I plan on moving it in either game week 32 or game week 33 as well. And with Alexander Isak seeing a little bit of a demise in his returns, is he still the best captain? And I own a couple of minutes risk players in my midfield as well in Bukayo Saka and Phil Foden. We'll be discussing all of that, potential transfers this week, potential transfers for the double in game week 33, and everything in my team selection for game week 32. What is up, everyone? FPL Harry here. Before we dive in, 2,000 likes is the aim. Subscribe if you're new around here. And we're going to look at game week 31 very briefly. It was the first week of my assistant manager, and I didn't actually get that many returns, but a few players really propped me up onto a big, strong green arrow. 66 points, 13 above my safety score. Of course, that safety score is basically the score you need to start getting a green arrow. I moved from 20k to just inside the top 12k, so about 11,600. I did have the captaincy armband on Mo Salah with a blank, but Isak didn't do anything either. I did get returns from Mateta and Munoz in the Crystal Palace game. Gavardio coming in with a 9-pointer as well, but it really was the other Newcastle players. Jacob Murphy coming in with a big 16-pointer. Eddie Howe coming in with an 11-pointer as my assistant manager as well. Very pleased with that, although I did bench Williams' 4 points on the bench. Realistically, he wasn't going to get anywhere near my starting 11, although he did look very attacking, which is a slight positive. But after a few red arrows over the past few weeks and dropping down the ranks, it's nice to finally bounce back. Assistant manager active. Let's hope we can carry it into the next couple of weeks. Let me know how you got on in game week 31 and any early questions for game week 32. Drop them in the comments down below. So let's go and have a look at my team for game week 32. Of course, a reminder, a double for Crystal Palace and for Newcastle as well. Just before we do that, this video is being sponsored by mysteryfootball.co.uk. And if you love football shirts like me, then you are absolutely going to love this one. What they do is they have mystery authentic kit boxes from clubs all around the world that they send you. You don't know what you're going to get until you go and open it. Now, you do have the luxury to exclude rival teams. So as a Chelsea fan, I have excluded a few of our rivals. You get the box here. I haven't opened it. So we're going to do a little bit of an unboxing here. You just pull the tabs on the back of the box. Let's have a look what we've gone and got. Open it up. Ooh. I'm glad it's not green so I can wear it with the green screen. We have gone and got Girona. Look at that. Now, I've never done a transition before, but let's try. There we go. Let's see how that one turned out. But if you want to check it out yourself, you can use the link in the description, mysteryfootball.co.uk. You can get 5% off if you do use that link down below. This is this season's shirt. It fits so well. I'm wearing a large if you want to know what sort of size to go and order. Go and check it out if you're interested. And there'll also be, you'll be seeing more of this over on Twitter over the next couple of weeks and between now and the end of the season as well. Going back to my lineup though. So assistant manager active. It was on Eddie Howe for the Leicester fixture in game week 31. He scored me 11 points. Very happy with that. And the plan was always to keep it on Eddie Howe for this week. You'll also notice when we go through my team, I only have 2 Arsenal players, and that is the plan to move the assistant manager next week in game week 33 from Eddie Howe onto Arteta for the Arsenal double game week next week, but just to keep it on Eddie Howe for Manchester United and Crystal Palace at home. It's pretty close. Who's better between him and Glasner for the double this week? I do think Glasner, of course, has the higher upside, but I went with Eddie Howe this week. I don't plan on moving it. Hopefully, he can score me somewhere between 15 and 20 points with 2 wins for Newcastle, hopefully. Into my starting 11, I'm going with David Raya. I do think there'll be some rotation for that Arsenal team at home to Brentford, but my backup goalkeeper is Areola against Liverpool, so there's nothing really there. Now, into the defence is when we start to get a little bit of a benching headache. Reminder, I've got 1 free transfer and 0.6 million in the bank. So Munoz with his double is definitely going to be starting for me. And I'm pretty certain I'm going to start one of my 2 Nottingham Forest defenders. Now, at home to Everton. Everton are a team who are notoriously good in the air, defending set pieces and stuff like that. So I'm not as certain Milenkovic's attacking threat will be seen as much in this game. So I have gone with Williams as the one that I'm starting out of those 2. Now, I've gone with Gavardio as my other starting defender. I do expect a lot of rotation for Aston Villa against Southampton in the weekend. I'm recording just before their match with PSG tonight, so I don't think Konsa's definitely going to start that game against Southampton. So we're going with him last on the bench. It's just Milenkovic versus Gvardiol. Now, I've got triple Crystal Palace in my team at the moment. So starting Gvardiol does feel a little bit counterintuitive, but I'm not sure I really want to double up on the Nottingham Forest defence, who do feel a little bit weaker at the moment without Ola Aina in their squad. So at the moment, we're playing a back three, although that actually could change, because when we start to have a look at the midfield, the first one is Phil Foden, right? And we saw his minutes at the weekend. Definitely a concern that he's going to get anything more than 50 and he might not even start. But outside of that, the other one who I could start is Bukayo Saka, who's currently on my bench. He looked really, really good against Real Madrid, but I'm just not certain that he's going to start that game at home to Brentford. I feel like he'll be coming off the bench, ready to play the second game against Madrid in Madrid next midweek. So at the moment, I've gone with Phil Foden, but if I'm not certain Foden's going to start, I could actually drop both to the bench just for this week and then play Milenkovic and play a back four. That is something I've considered, and that is something that is possible. I do still think that Phil Foden is Manchester City's best number 10. He's the best player to play in behind Marmoush, but if they're going to start playing Grealish there and Kevin De Bruyne there, who's played there over the past couple of weeks, I might be forced to drop Foden. So which out of Foden, Milenkovic, Saka I'm starting, I haven't fully made up my mind. It's also worth noting that Manchester City are the early kickoff on Saturday morning, and we often see some of the Manchester City team news over on Twitter during the deadline stream. So if we were to get a positive update on Foden, then I'd probably start him. If we were to get a negative update on Foden, then of course I'd probably drop him to the bench in place of either Milenkovic or Bukayo Saka, depending on Arteta's quotes in the press conference later this week. Outside of that, we've got the two midfielders in the double, Sarr and then hero Jacob Murphy. I'm not too worried about Sarr. The fixture's not great, but I actually think they could suit him. And long term, he's been pretty good and actually outperformed Eze for a lot of the underlying data. So I don't mind that. And then Jacob Murphy, particularly without Anthony Gordon, feels like the second most creative goal-scoring hub in that Newcastle team after Alexander Isak. And then it is Mo Salah. I've had an awful lot of questions about what you should do with him, whether you should keep him, whether you should look selling him or something like that. I've got absolutely no plan on selling him. With West Ham at home, Leicester away, they're still chasing the Premier League title. Although it looks almost done with Arsenal dropping more points against Everton last weekend, I think I'm just going to hold on to him probably for the remainder of the season as well. Then we're going up front. It's the template front line. Almost everyone watching will have Isak, Marmoush, Mateta. Captaincy armband, I'm pretty certain would be on Isak. If you have the triple captaincy, I would be playing on Isak this week. We spoke about that in the transfer targets video from yesterday. Mateta is going to get the vice captain just because his goal scoring record is really good. And I don't think I trust Murphy or Sarr with the vice captaincy this week. Now, I am planning on rolling my transfer. I know a few of you will look at Foden and Saka and think they're probably not ones that you want long term. And that might be right. But I still think Foden is in Manchester City's best lineup without Erling Haaland there. And I think Saka's minutes are only going to slowly get better and better. So with a double in 33, I don't feel like I want to rush to sell them. I could do Foden to Rodgers, but I spoke about in my transfer targets video, I'm just not certain that the Aston Villa team will be easy to predict against Southampton. I'm just not sure we know who is going to play that game because, of course, they then play PSG again either side of that. And they have a Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday turnaround, which is really difficult to predict. I could go to Cole Palmer, but he goes Fulham away. And then from game week 35 onwards, the fixtures look really poor. So I don't particularly want him in my team long term either. So as much as there might be some things that look like they could improve my team this week, I think the most sensible thing for me this week will be to roll my transfer. I also will need 2 transfers next week. The plan will be to do How to Arteta with 1 transfer and buy an Aston Villa attacker with my second transfer. Now, that will either be Murphy to Morgan Rodgers or it will be Isak to Watkins. But I'm almost certain I'll buy either Rodgers or Watkins for their double in game week 33, plus moving the assistant manager. So if I use an extra transfer this week, it will force me to take a -4 next week, which I don't really want to do. So that is a pretty long-winded way of saying I'm going to roll my transfer, captain on Isak, vice captain on Mateta. Haven't fully decided on who to bench out of Foden, Milenkovic, Saka or Gvardiol at the moment. In theory, I've got to play 2 out of those 4 players. Let's see what Pep says on the likes of Foden. Let's see what Arteta says on the likes of Saka, because there was also small rumours that Phil Foden limped off against Manchester United, and that's why he came off so early. So let's see what happens later on in the week with the press conferences, but this is how we're lining up. I'm almost certain I'll roll my transfer. Konza, I don't think will start his last on the bench. and I feel like I've whittled on enough as well. So if you've skipped towards the end of the video and you're wondering, what is this crazy nice football shirt that you're wearing? This is from mysteryfootball.co.uk. You can check out with the link in the description, get a mystery box with an authentic football shirt in it with 5% off in the description from clubs all around the world. Anyway, you'll see them on Twitter over the next sort of month or so as well. Thank you for watching. Any questions you have, drop it in the comment section down below. Friday afternoon will be the final decisions video as well. So any questions you drop in the comments, I'll either answer them in the comments or I'll make sure to put them in that video as well. We'll do benching rankings, that sort of stuff in there as well. So even benching decisions, let me know. As I said, 2,000 likes is the aim. Any questions you have, drop them below. Subscribe before you go, and I'll be back again very soon.